My name's Tim, I'm an alcoholic. I wake up around 4:30 in the morning, so this feels like it's very late at night. So if I fall asleep halfway through, just make a loud noise and I'll wake up. I like that reading, talking about the medical facts. I can get lost in the ins and outs of my own story and miss the facts. I can miss the wood for the trees. And my drinking is actually really straightforward. I was a real mess before I ever drank, and then I drank for a few years, and I was in way more of a state at the end of that than I was at the beginning. It was very clear that drink was doing me no good at all, partly because of the sheer volume of alcohol I was tipping down my neck. I mean, that won't do you any favours, but all the stuff I did when I was drunk, and all of the whole failure to really engage with life. I didn't get off the starting blocks, really. I just drank. Faced with that situation, it was very clear that I had two options. Option number one was cut down the quantity. Option number two is cut it out altogether. Or just carry on and die. But I didn't want to die. If you asked me on any given day, I would have said, yes, I want to die, I hate living, life is pointless. But if one wants to kill oneself, it's possible, and I didn't. Something in me didn't want to die, or I would have. There's enough suicide in my family for me to know that. There was something in me that wanted to stay alive. So option number one, let's cut down the quantity. For first of all, the notion of drinking moderately was not appealing to me. When I was in situations when there wasn't enough to drink, when I assessed what was available, I thought there won't be enough for me here. I would actually have nothing. I could go one day drinking nothing, because the thought of drinking a glass of wine or 2 glasses of wine and stopping and having to have the alcohol leave my system cell by cell by cell for the rest of the day, not on. Easier actually to have nothing than to have a couple of drinks. But also throughout the whole of my drinking, yeah, of course I wanted to get drunk, but I never wanted to get so drunk I threw up. I never wanted to get so drunk I couldn't sleep because my head was spinning whenever I closed my eyes. I never wanted to get so drunk I got into fights. I never wanted to get so drunk that the darkness would rise up in me and say, just get out of here, go roving, go causing trouble. I never wanted to get to that stage, but it happened again and again and again and again and again. If I was ever going to moderate, it would have happened. The fact that it didn't happen means that's just not on the cards, it's not within me to moderate. So this is now getting good. We now have 2 options if I want to stay alive. Cut it out altogether, or maybe just carry on drinking. Cutting it out altogether, I tried a few times. The last time was the only really serious one. That was the only time. This was January 1993. Before, I'd cut it out altogether, thinking I'll have a break for 3 months. And once I've had a break, when I come back, I'll drink. I won't drink crazily. I'll get drunk, but I won't get crazy drunk. And that didn't work. I'd start again after 3 months and be just as bad as I was. So I know that having a break doesn't change my alcoholism. January 1993, I was done for good. I found some papers, I won't go into the whole story, but I found some papers left by my brother. It was clear that he was an alcoholic. He died, and I knew at that point, if I don't stop forever, that's the end of me. So I thought, I can do this. I've stopped before for a few days, for a few weeks, so stopping I can do. I was really ill, but I could get through it without dying of seizures, basically, at that point. So I thought, I'll get through the first week or so. It'll be horrible coming off it, but I'll be all right after that, because now I'm certain. And I was certain in my heart that I wanted to stop forever. And what terrified me was about 2 weeks later, I started again for no good reason. In those 2 weeks of sobriety, January 1993, I started to get myself together. I started to get myself together physically. I started to be able to show up for stuff. I started to scrabble together the remains of my life to start to build something. I had no reason to start drinking again. I didn't want to start drinking again, but I did. And I thought, okay, that's fine. One little night of a slip, a person can make a mistake. Next night, same thing. And then I was really baffled. But not as baffled as I was about 6 months later. Because over those 6 months, I started going to AA, I started going to meetings, and it wasn't I came to AA and did not like it, or hated it, or didn't like the people, or thought it was a load of baloney. I bought the notion of AA straight away in beginning of February 1993. And I went to loads of meetings, talked to loads of people, read the literature, blah, blah, blah. And I carried on slipping, and the people around me weren't. And I remember in Earl's Court, after a meeting, I used to go to meetings around that part of town. I was in this meeting in Earl's Court. We went for coffee afterwards. I was sitting in a cafe, and people were gradually drifting in from the meeting and settling on different tables. And a couple of people came in, and one said to the other one, he was going to come and sit next to me, he said, "Don't sit next to him, he keeps slipping. You'll learn nothing from him." And they were right, because I had learnt nothing. I thought that if I just went to meetings and talked a lot to all my little friends, I'd be all right. Now, there's nothing wrong with going to meetings, and there's nothing wrong with talking to all my little friends. I still go to a lot of meetings. I still talk to my little friends. But that's not the thing that is going to keep me sober. I've been sober since that July 1993. What was missing was a real understanding of the medical facts. The bit of alcoholism, the powerlessness after the first drink, was really clear to me. I understood that once I have a drink, all bets are off. There was a period of sobriety in 1991, and when I re-entered the world of drinking, it's like I become dazed, and I can be in the world of drinking for months before I emerge again. So that was really clear. What I did not understand was the nature of what it calls in the book the mental obsession. And to be fair to myself and to anyone else that struggles with the term, mental obsession, you'd think what it means is you're thinking about drink the whole time, you can't think about anything but drink, you drink, and then you have a drink. And that's not it. Because I was in a meeting in Ladbroke Grove. This was the day of my last drink, 24th of July 1993. I'd been to a breakfast meeting. I went to a lunchtime meeting, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock at the so-called London Lighthouse, as it was termed. And I went to the meeting, and it was a perfectly nice meeting, perfectly nice people. I even shared. They say, you're as sick as your secrets. So I got all my secrets out. The meeting wasn't all that chuffed that I was getting my secrets out, but there we go. I'd shared, and I left the meeting and went to the pub. It had not been my intention that morning to drink. When I was in the meeting, I said, I'm an alcoholic and I want to stay sober and blah, 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 and I meant it. I did not mean it. I wasn't saying it through gritted teeth. I wasn't insincere. I wasn't double-minded. I didn't have like two sets of thoughts all at once. I was absolutely convinced I want to stay sober. And then I walk out of the meeting and the thought occurs. And note that phrase, the thought occurred to me. It's what people say. I don't have the thought occurs to me. It's in charge at that point. The thought occurred to me, you know what, I could really murder a pint. And I obeyed the thought. The mental obsession is not me being preoccupied with drink and finally relenting. The way it works in me is that the thought mugs me. And it mugs me and says, you want a drink. And then I think, I do. I want a drink. It convinces me I want a drink. And then it mesmerises me. And then I lose all notion that I've been convinced by some alien force to drink. I think I actually want to drink. And I don't. I don't want the consequences. I don't want the drinking life. But in that moment, all it has to do is get me to have the first drink. Once I've had the first drink, it takes a back seat, puts its feet up as the physical craving takes over, and then I'm off to the races. And the physical craving, again, the phrase is unhelpful in a way, but it's what we're stuck with because it's in the book. I work in an office and there are 7 other people around me. And mid-afternoon, same time every day, they all start to get twitchy and they want a bit of chocolate, a little bit of a pick-me-up around 3 o'clock. And they get the chocolate biscuits out, or one of them does a Tesco's run for something or other. But they're craving some kind of sugar thing. I'm probably because they had carbohydrates at lunch, but that's another question. So they're craving some kind of sugar hit. They're craving it, they go and have the sugar, and then they're fine. They get on with the rest of the day. The physical craving I have with alcohol, it's not what precedes the drink. It's what is created by having a drink. I can have a drink casually, not really thinking about it, like indifferent to it. But as soon as it's in me, I want more and more and more. Drinking does not satisfy my craving. It's a weird old craving. You know, it's when it's a really hot day and you're craving a cold drink, and you have the cold drink, you're now good for half an hour or an hour, a couple of hours. You're done. You crave something, you have the thing, it satisfies the craving. When I have a drink, that's what starts the craving. I have another drink, it amplifies the craving, it makes it worse. It's like scratching a mosquito bite. Will make it worse. It won't take away the itch, it makes the itch worse. When I have a drink and I crave another drink and I have that other drink, it makes the itch for a drink worse, and it just escalates. What I was told was the mind that you have now, this was in 1993, the mind that you have now will at some point, doesn't matter how sincere you are, little tears of sincerity dripping down your damp little face, doesn't matter how sincere you are, there's going to be a moment, if your mind isn't changed, it will mug you again and then you'll be off. So you need to not be in charge. You need a system for living which does not involve you consulting yourself. So what shall I do today? I know, and then answering yourself and doing that thing. You need a system. And I knew it was true at that point, because I was getting to a point where I would wake up in the morning sincerely wanting to be sober, to stay sober, and it was Russian roulette as to whether or not I was going to stay sober that day. Absolutely no idea. So I had to get on with basically doing AA as prescribed. It says when you go to the pharmacy, take as prescribed. Sometimes people are describing the program and say, well, for me, the program is this. If everyone has a different program, I'm fucked. But how do I know which one is for me? So I just keep it really simple. I just do what the book says, because I'm just an ordinary alcoholic with ordinary alcoholism. That's why I haven't talked about my childhood, because it's got nothing to do with why I'm an alcoholic. Some people in my family are alcoholics, most aren't. It's not my family. It's not my circumstances, it's not my upbringing, just luck of the draw. So I'm an ordinary alcoholic with ordinary alcoholism. I need an ordinary solution. The ordinary solution is, on the God front, I've got I think a good relationship with God now. When I was new, I didn't believe in God. I said to my sponsor, what do? I don't believe in God. He said, the only thing you need to know about God is not you. And you got a tongue in your head, as I've heard you at meetings, so you direct what you're saying to whatever that is up there. You don't have to know anything about, like in a meeting, you go up to someone, you talk to them. You don't have to know anything about them to talk to them. Do that with God. Just tell God what is going on, say, what shall I do? And then listen to what other people in AA say that they do and copy them. Monkey see, monkey do. So I looked around for people in AA that were cheerful and were working and could deal with working, because that was a big problem. I had never really worked. I found money other ways. People that got on with their families. I found people that were successful at living. I was incredibly depressed when I got sober because I'd been drinking a depressant for a number of years. But even once I was sober, that alone will do it. But even once I was sober for a bit, the alcohol wore off, I was still depressed. My sponsor said, you're depressed because your life is depressing. You need to change your life. If I had your life, I'd be depressed. That was a revelation. I thought it was my genes or my star sign or my upbringing or the school I went to or my parents or my brother's suicide or my sister's this or my whatever's that. I thought it was all those things. I had no idea that if I think depressing thoughts constantly for days on end, it will make me depressed. I had no idea that how I was living was producing my experience of life. I thought my life was happening to me and I was just the passive object of it, and it wasn't. I was creating it moment by moment by the beliefs that I was holding, the thoughts that I was entertaining, and the actions that I was taking. And basically, the program for me is about going through those middle steps and saying, fact-finding and fact-facing. What are your beliefs? What is your thinking? What is your behaviour? How well is any of that working out for you? Not very well. It's going to have to change. And so the AA program for me to put it objectively, the AA program has brought amazing changes in me simply by that process of the steps. Find out what the facts are, tell someone else, and then start to mimic people who are cheerful, useful, happy, productive, effective in their lives. Believe what they believe, think what they think, do what they do, and you'll get the results that they get. And it's not a matter of brainwashing or becoming someone else. Ironically, when I was depressed and anxious and having panic attacks and all that other shit, I was indistinguishable from all the other people around me who were depressed and anxious. We all said the same things. The irony is copying other people in AA, the people who are having a great time and having a great life. I become far more unique, far more myself than when I was unhappy. So copying other people doesn't turn me into them, it turns me into me. My life today is really, really straightforward. I've got like the usual things. I'm married, I live somewhere, I have work that I do during the day. I've got a couple of bob coming in. I'm not clipping coupons. It's fine. I mean, I do use the coupons, but I'm doing okay. But the important thing in my life, that it's like being on a secret mission in AA. The secret mission is to help other people who are as fucked as I was, because no one else could help me but alcoholics in AA, housewives, taxi drivers, plumbers, people I had things in common with sometimes, but usually nothing in common with. And they would say common sense, practical things, and I believed them, and I put those into action, and it worked. No one else could help me. And so I know there are people in AA that can't be helped by anyone else. My mission in life is to be useful in AA. That is it. And when God says, no, you need to go and do your work for a bit, I'll go and do that. But that can't be my mission. That can't be the important thing in my life. From the outside, it looks like I'm living an ordinary life. From the inside, I know that I, along with everyone else in AA, is on a special mission to be part of this aggregate, magical process of saving the lives of literally millions of people in recovery around the world. We're all in this together as a single living, breathing heart. And the blood that pumps around is the carrying of the message of how God got me sober, keeps me sober, but I activate God in my life by taking concerted action on a daily basis. That's 20 minutes exactly, so I'm going to stop.